How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews, back with a little bit of Trillium up in this piece. It's been a little bit in the form of their Trailside. Yeah, this is an India Pale Ale coming at 6.8% alcohol by volume. Looks like it was canned just about a month ago. It comes courtesy of my boy Corey. Corey sent off a box of beers, 2 boxes of beers to be perfectly exact. I sent off a box of non-mystery beers and then a box of mystery beers. Here we are. A little bit of Trillium. It's been a while since I've done some Trillium proper. In the sense that, yeah, I think most of the Trillium I've done or reviewed has been like mystery beers or joint stuff. So we'll see how the sucker rolls. First things first. Not much of a head on that sucker. Not that I poured it all that aggressive, but really not much going on there. Second off, label-wise, it's awesome. I've always loved their labels. One of my favorite in the biz. Man, it just doesn't look like it has much of a head on this sucker. Give it a whirl. Kind of comes back a little bit, but yeah. See if we can get a nose on it. Citrus. A pretty aggressive citrus. I'm assuming, this is me assuming, not necessarily assuming, it's probably coming from the beer itself, but I think there's a bit of that carbonic thing, which is Trillium has been dipping into. That kind of super soapy head kind of, that's tend to get that on a little bit of carbonic forward beers too, but citrus, a little bit of apricot, a little bit of green bittering, a bit of carbonic acid, done and done. Let's dive in. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what you're getting here. You're getting this citrus pineapple, big pop of pineapple forward kind of IPA. This is a decently aggressive, a little bit bigger, quite a bit bigger than what I'd like, kind of carbonic acid thing going on. That's kind of just used to kind of prop up that bitterness, but this gets a little bit, or hoppiness, I should say, more than just bitterness. It just gets a little bit too aggressive, a little bit too kind of out there. Nice mouthfeel. That citrus and that pineapple to start of the show. The carbonic portion of the show is just a little bit too big for me. Kind of overpowers the hoppy portion of the show and just brings a little bit too much of that seltzer-like bitterness to the beer. Done and done. I mean, it's not a horrible beer. I think a lot of people would like this beer. But as far as like a Trillium IPA and what I typically kind of grew into loving with what these guys do and how they've done things, just comes off a little bit just too carbonic. I mean, it's been a while since I've said those words and a handful of reviews, but the last time I was really kind of putting that whole carbonic thing out there, it was a lot of Treehouse and Trillium, and not that I've had a ton of Treehouse as of late, but I have kind of worked myself through a bunch of or Trillium as of late, but I've worked myself through a bunch of Treehouse, and they've kind of wavered back out of that kind of carbonic acid thing. It doesn't seem that way with Trillium. It seems like they're still kind of leaning into that. And I mean, I talk about it ad nauseum. I'm not going to sit here and explain the whole thing, but it's basically just like a carbonic acid seltzer water. You put that in beers to help kind of prop up a bitterness, kind of almost like MSG for hops. But if you use a little too heavy-handed, it just is kind of like this is like truffle oil for beer. And this one just has a little bit too much for me. You know, it doesn't come off like overtly negative. Just it's omnipresent, at least for somebody that's susceptible to it like me, because I know some people aren't. It just doesn't remind me what I typically got from Trillium back in the day. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's honestly a beer that I think a lot of people who are into kind of hazy New England style IPA, or have grown into it out of, what's the word I'm looking for? Got into it more than grown into it. Got into it over the past couple of years, and this is kind of what they know. Then you know what you know, and this is how you know things to be. A very herky-jerky review right now, but in the grand scheme of things, it just comes off. It lacks that juiciness. It lacks that pop. It lacks that depth of character. It's almost like I said when you use that truffle oil kind of analogy. You're trying to kind of find a quick, cheap path to the way you can bring this kind of robust kind of hop presence, and this one's kind of missing that. And I believe that is them trying to, okay, let's use a little less hops, a little bit more carbonic acid, try to make up that ground, and it just doesn't resonate for me at least. So, yeah, it is what it is. Let's talk about it. It's one of the better IPAs I've had as of late. No, value and availability. No idea. This comes from Corey. Like I said, Corey, let me know what you paid for this sucker, and leave you with it if you like what we like this beer. If you're not susceptible to that carbonic thing that I am, I don't think I'm overtly susceptible. I just think I'm not a fan. So if you're not a fan, you won't be a fan. But if you don't know, then you'll probably be a fan. There you go. Let me know if you've had this one down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massif if you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a little Trillium right now. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers.